Welcome to Voices United in Education podcast. Today we are with the START program of the Escambia County Public Schools. Let's join Meredith Hathwick Edwards with her guest today.
Starting a new profession can be daunting, and it's no secret when it comes to a teaching career that not everything you need to know is covered at your university. My next guest is a Pensacola local helping connect new teachers and seasoned pros. She's the Employee Services Coordinator at the START program, Successful Teachers Assisting Rising Teachers. It's a year-long mentorship program designed for new teachers. Today, she's going to share how supporting teachers supports students in Escambia County Public Schools. Community investor, relationship cultivator, Tate High graduate, Caroline Gray. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. What a great introduction. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. You deserve it. When I learned about this program, I was like, yes, oh my gosh, this is what we need. So it's brilliant. Can you tell me like the backstory of how it got started?
Sure. Actually, a former teacher of mine, Miss Kelly Crosstag, and KK Owen, she's now a retired educator, Keith Leonard, there were lots of names in the development of this program, and it's a copycat program of something called the Toledo Plan. They traveled up to Ohio in 2010, 2011, and the part that we decided in the state of Florida, no one is allowed to evaluate. Teachers cannot evaluate other teachers. That's where it gets it got very specific, because that's what we were creating. We were generating something where teachers were telling other teachers, hey, this is what you need to be doing. And Florida laws get a little tricky with that. So the way we do it is we generate a partnership with our union, the Escambia Educators Association. And so that's where the START program is a bridge where we allow that master contract to be flexible for these teachers that are selected as START teachers. So we were able to create it based on the Toledo Plan of these teachers are being appointed and approved not just by the board, but also by the union and by the Human Resources Department, the Professional Learning Department. These teachers that are pulled out of classrooms to be consulting teachers, they've got to go through a lot of hoops to actually be able to go into classrooms and evaluate brand new teachers as if they were an administrator. So that's why it took so long of where can we set up this planning and how can we make sure it's legal? How can we make sure we're not infringing on Florida statutes? And, that this is in support. This isn't a teachers after teachers thing. This is teachers helping teachers. And so that's why it's a teamwork with the Educators Association.
You said it took so long. How long did it take to develop?
I think it took about 3 or 4 years. This was while I was a classroom teacher. My first few years of teaching, it did not exist. That was in 08, 09. And so that we didn't have it, but my teacher whose job I replaced at Tate High School, she was the one helping develop this plan. So of course I always learned about it because she helped create it. And now in last summer, I'm now appointed to administrate and oversee it, which is incredible to see. I've watched it grow from the bottom up, and it's changing. It's changed over the last decades. It definitely had to change during the pandemic. And I've got some visions for the future as well because it's all about flexibility, adapting to what our new teachers need. It's just something, our whole district, our board members, everybody's really proud of it.
Well, they should be. It sounds really awesome because teachers, I don't think it's a big secret. They don't go into teaching because that's where all the big bucks are. There's no big bucks. It's because they want to change lives and make an impact. But there's definitely a learning curve for new teachers. So maybe you can paint a picture, maybe from your own experience or from the teachers in your program. What kind of obstacles are new teachers facing that a program like this would help with?
Well, with a brand new teacher coming out of college, and I'm seeing this now with my recruits that I bring in, compassion and willingness, that's not the thing we need. They've already got that. That's what signed them up for the job. But standards, pacing guides, testing, how do I fit this with this? Assessment of all the different types of kids in your room. How do I make sure I'm accommodating for kid A and kid B, but kid C needs this? And that's the part that's like, okay, I know how to love these kids. I know how to be compassionate for them, but what's all this other stuff I need to do? And that's where the expert advice, the mentorship can come in. And it's slow. It's a slow process. If you try to just dump it all onto a teacher in August, which unfortunately that pre-planning week, even as a seasoned teacher, the amount of things of, here's what we're going to see this year. So, be ready. And that's in non-pandemic years. It's like, okay, how do I remember to make sure that, that we've got that. So you just have to take it piece by piece. I'm not worried about what I'm doing all year long. I'm worried about what I'm doing on Monday.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't barely meal plan for 2 weeks, much less wrap my brain around the idea of curriculum planning for a whole year.
Right. And that's where I think all of us, as in the START program, when we sit there and talk about it, you'll get nowhere but stressed if you are sitting in August worried about what you're supposed to be doing in April. You need to be aware of it. You need to set goals, but you can sit there and have spend a whole day, and then you're like, oh, what are we doing tomorrow? And so it takes that veteran teacher to sit down and say, what are we doing this week? And let's talk about this week. And that veteran teacher can do that looking further ahead because they know. But a brand new teacher, the expectation to look into the future, they need someone with them. And so when you're a consulting teacher, you provide that sense of comfort. Like, they can't be there every day. These teachers, they've got, some of them last year had 20 people and expected once a week check-ins in schools all over the district. The
mentors had 20 teachers?
Correct. So last year I had 11 consulting teachers. Those are the mentoring. And some of those 11 had 20.
Oh my goodness.
Originally, I think in a non-pandemic year, I think the idea was for each to have maybe 12 to 14 is the goal. But our high school secondary numbers were so high, they were getting up into the 20, and we were actually having to turn down. So there were some brand new teachers that did not receive the mentorship this year. And we did what we could, where we made those choices based on what they taught, or, they've got a really good, strong department head. They've got, a team work there. So we just tried to case by case, or, hey, with this one resigned, let's pick up a new one. And we did everything we could.
Well, there's definitely a huge impact on the new teachers. Everything you're describing, I could maybe sum up in anti-overwhelm, like it's the antidote to all of that. Can you think of any specific impact stories of teachers that kind of illustrate the turnaround and the support that START gives?
Yes, it can get personal, not just the scariness of joining a brand new career. I think a lot of our success stories are people who have chosen teaching as a second or third career.
Can you tell me about a specific individual?
Yeah. One I'm thinking of just, worked at retail. He never really, it just never thought, I went to college, I got X degree, but, just, and that's fine. And he had children and was like, it'd be really great to to be on their schedule. And so that, I think, was what it took for him to get into teaching. He got into teaching, so, later in his 20s, and Start actually assisted him. And he just completed his master's degree in education leadership. He's ready to be, to possibly be an assistant principal maybe in that path. And so he's one of those success stories that I wouldn't have been anywhere without my Start person, and so they were there for me, not just that year, but just in that whole, he just hit a whole new season of his life. If you would have told his teenage self, one day you're going to want to be a principal, and he was that type of guy that was like, no, I just have a job is just a job.
Right.
It's not something that's supposed to change lives. And now he's just an incredible guy.
Do you think that this program helps prevent teacher burnout?
I hope it does. I know anybody that goes through the list of all the expectations of our teachers, it's hard not to be burned out just reading that list. But what I hope it creates is a sense of community, a sense of understanding. And if you are having those feelings, here's ways to deal with it. Here's ways to channel it. I'm excited about, we're doing so much for our kids in mental health training. And something I'm seeing is in our student services department is we want to start doing more for our teachers in mental health. And I'm like, well, let's start with our Start people.
That sounds great.
And so the future, I'm hoping we can, they're not going to be licensed mental health counselors by any means, but so much of what they do is counseling, listening. And just because you can't fix a problem, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear
it goes a long way.
You. And being that person, I mean, that's the definition of mentorship. And here's a solution, and sometimes time can heal it, but just to be that sounding board is one of those things that I hope can really help the burnout thing, that everyone talks about. No one can fix it.
Right. It's not changing the situation. It's just changing the support system within the situation. How do you prevent jaded attitudes? The older teacher that is burnt out or otherwise disgruntled, unhappy. I've been at employer situations where they gave me a trainer, and the trainer, she was in a bad way, and she kind of spewed all her unhappiness on me.
Oh yeah.
How do you prevent that in the START program?
Well, that is orientation day 101. You're talking
about for the mentors.
Correct.
Okay.
It is easy to get on our soapbox about, oh, you can't do, and then you do this, and then they'll change their minds, and the kid will get quarantined, and you think you have the wonderful plan, and it's all out the door, and yeah, that happens. But it's definitely our mission to hold those things back, because we already know in the hallways, the teacher roommate, that negativity can come out. It can come out with the students. And the piece of advice that was always passed down to me was, if you had a bad day at work, why did I have a bad day? Did I have a bad day because 2 of my students ruined my day? I saw 125 students today. So am I going to say today was a bad day because of 2 kids? Or am I going to say today was a good day because of 123 kids? So shifting mentality, shifting pessimism to optimism. And again, that's that mental health, being that sounding board, but finding positive things to hold on to instead of negative is something I hope as a leader to these mentors to always project to our teachers.
So it's part of the training, and that right away, that if this is not, an approach that you can take, then this mentorship program is not for you.
Right.
I'm curious, let's pretend I am a new teacher. Mm-hmm. Walk me through the matchmaking process. What does that look like?
Okay, so if you're a brand new teacher, you're going to be signed up for our Great Beginnings workshop. We have it in the summer times, and we'll get all the names, school assignments, subject areas. We might only know third grade. We might only know social studies versus whether it's civics, world history, economic. We might only know your name. And that's okay too, because we get a lot of employees on, but they don't have that specific assignment yet. But we start with just school division. And so all the consulting teachers will be at that Great Beginnings, and we divvy up in groups. Ideally, we've got those groups ready to go, and some teachers, if geographically, if it makes sense, just in the 21-22 year at West Pensacola Elementary, there were 9 brand new teachers. So it made sense to just put one consulting teacher at that school, and they were her girls. It was, and she worked as a group with them. They became a little community in itself. She even had an office at West Pensacola, and so she was there definitely more than once a week. And so if we can make that happen, that's wonderful. Now in the high school level, you get departmental. And so we've got a lot of tools in our toolbox. We've got a couple people that are math and science, a couple people that are English literature reading, and then we've got some specialties in the vocational realms. So it might not necessarily be school-based, but high schools, we only have 7 places to float. Elementary, we've got over 30 elementaries. So we try to keep geographic things in mind. With gas mileage is also something, Bratt Elementary. We did serve. We had a brand new teacher there at Bratt Elementary, and that was quite the haul.
Where is Bratt Elementary?
Well, isn't that a good question? That's what our CT asked. I should Google that.
And also, who named it? Bratt Elementary?
It's Bratt with 2 T's.
That doesn't help.
and so I am a Cantonment girl. So I had heard of it.
Okay.
But even me, I'm a Southerner to someone. So you said when you drive to visit your family, you go through J.
Right.
So you've traveled that Highway 29.
I have.
And so there's a Tom Thumb, and that would be the Atmore cutoff. You can go that way, or you could keep going north. But those schools, Bratt Elementary, Northview High School, Ernest Ward Middle School.
Okay, I know where Northview is.
There you go.
I'm oriented now. So.
There you go.
Well, it's great that you are covering so much ground. And I think this is such a fantastic benefit for teachers. I think that most of us could draw a connection between the teacher benefit and the student benefit, because as you know, this podcast is about uniting together for each student in Escambia County, and really getting a close-up look at all of the amazing people and services and relationships that help come together to elevate that student. So I'm curious, from your perspective, because you've been both an educator and the director of this program, how do you see START working together for the benefit of each Escambia County student?
So there's one part about when I'm training the mentors, my consulting teachers, I don't have to tell them to care about students. I actually, if anything, you've got to remind them, hey, you're here to help the teacher, because I've seen them walk into classrooms and they see the kids first. They are teachers first. And they walk in and they're like, hey guys, I'm Miss Morris. And they start building those bonds with the kids, because that is their natural, that is their DNA, is to look in the eyes of those kids. And to me, they're projecting that to the brand new teacher. And that, just by doing that, walking into the room, they're doing that. And so the brand new teacher sits there and watches that veteran, amazing CT, consulting teacher, and oh, wow, look at how those kids just responded right there. And so they don't just sit in the back with a clipboard and write things down. They get in the month of, at the August, September times of the year, in the early stages, they're in there circulating, introducing themselves, like, you're going to see me in and out, guys. So you tell me your name. They learn the names, they learn the procedures, and they're modeling is what they're doing. And so what I always hope they're doing is again, I hope that brand new teacher is just absorbing what that veteran teacher is doing, because you can't write down in a manual how to do that. And I know when I walk into a classroom, I had observations where I had to watch my mentor a teacher. And I walked into the room and I didn't look at the adults, because all the eyes are on me, kids in the desk. And if you just ignore them, like, oh, this is a person in fancy clothes with a badge on, what are you doing in my environment, right? Like, especially teenagers. No, I look them in the eye and I say, what are you guys doing? What's your name? Well, are you enjoying what you're doing? Well, what about the football game last week? And they have to know that they can trust you. You've got to build that trust, that you've got to show them, hey, I'm in here for you, not, but what's going on? What are you guys working on? And if that trust is there and the kids can let that guard down, and then you go into the lesson, you go into the plan, and then you can notice, okay, that kid, there we go. There's the response that's not with the rest of the group.
Let's talk about there. I would have never guessed that connecting with students in a more effective way to make them more open to receive education, which is basically what you're saying, if I'm hearing you right.
Yes.
I wouldn't have equated that with the benefit of being a mentor. And as you were also describing the scenario, I couldn't help but think what a beautiful example it is for students to see continued learning and the meaningfulness of mentorship in your life, and that it's not only okay to ask for help, but it's also a cool thing. Oh, my teacher that I really like, she has a mentor. Right. And so that could set them up for later.
And it's organic. It just happens right in front of you. You can't write down what's happening. When, like I said, I was the third adult walking in the room, which again, we could set that up to be pretty stuffy. You could have the clipboard and I could bring and have a stool. No, I sat in a desk next to a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey,
that's pretty cool.
What's up? and that could be my, and in an elementary room, you get down low with them because that's who you're there for. So, and that's my chance to get with those kids. And again, it's all about projecting that. And the more that the new teacher sees that, they see that, oh, look, that's getting reception.
Right.
I should do that.
Right. I can see your passion. Like every time you talk about the kids, your face just lights up. As far as the metrics of the program, are there specific measurements of success that START is using to see how effective the program is? Every year we look at how many of those people in START graduate from the program and how many of them stick around. We do have a much higher rate than I realized. Coming into this job, I was like, sure, we've got military spouses, but there can't be that many. Oh, there's on the close to the Navy base, we have just a regular turnaround, and that's not due to lack of anything on our part. That's because their spouse got new papers, and so we do have that turnaround of losing incredible teachers. But I would say 80% is something that I'm finding that if we get them through the START program and through the year and everything's successful, that retention, it's a higher than it was before we 80% retention?
Correct.
Yeah, that does feel like a good number.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, I just have two more questions for you.
Absolutely.
One is, if I am about to graduate from college or about to seek out a another different career, and and maybe the school year is about to start. After I'm hired on at a school, what's my next step as a new teacher to engage myself with the START program?
Well, you'll talk to your principal, will either tell you about it, or if you've heard about it, you may ask, if I recruited you, I know I've told you about it. And the principal will say, you will learn all about that at the Great Beginnings workshop. And if not everybody can go, we really, last year, I believe, we were almost at 300. It was a wonderful turnout of just everybody brand new to the school district, that we try to just, again, it's a information overload a little bit, and there's some training involved, but that is the place you really learn all about the START program. But if I've got someone that calls me, reaches out to me, and just wants to know what it's all about, I can answer those questions. And then, of course, the assigned mentor knows about it. We're working on developing a better website to explain and establish who we are.
So if they want to call you, are you comfortable sharing what that number is?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, go ahead and shout it out.
Yeah, it's 850-469-6256. And my name is Caroline Gray, and the Gray is with an AY. So I've got the same email address everybody does, and it's cgray@ecsdfl.us. I'd be happy to talk to you about it and what we can do for you, what all it entails. And most of our seasoned principals, teachers, they know about it as well.
That's great. And then my last question is, with everything that you know, your passion, your perspective, and your influence in education, what do you want people to know about Escambia County Public Schools?
You sign up with us, you're going to matter. There's a lot of adults in this world that don't think they matter. They don't think the one job they do makes a difference if they don't see that difference right away. I've been in it long enough where jobs where people may go home at night and they're like, yeah, I mean, I do this for the school. I sat at a computer screen all day, but you're serving something that will always keep growing, and you can insert yourself to build relationships with the kids. You'll never be questioned if what you're doing, is what, do I matter? Yeah, that is a big question. And you work for us, you're working for those kids, and you matter. And those kids that wonder if they matter, you can tell them they do. And that's my mission, is to pass that on and to tell all of our employees that they do have a purpose, and it's worth it.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for having me.